Hello, greetings. My name is Hunter Ryan. I am a second-year graduate student at Illinois State University in the Stevenson Center program. I'll be giving a quick little overview of my experiences up to this point, maybe help some prospective students in their decisions when applying to the Stevenson Center. A little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Hunter Ryan. I grew up in Houston, Texas. Currently working on a master's degree in kinesiology with focus on applied community economic development. I am within the Peace Corps Fellows program, and it has been an amazing experience so far working with the Stevenson Center and working with ISU. So kinesiology, a little quick overview. Kinesiology can be understood very broadly as sports science. So it encompasses everything from sports psychology, sports management, sports marketing. It also covers the biomechanics of sports, as well as park recreation and leisure management. So it's a very broad term that encompasses a lot of different things in regards to physical wellness and sports. But my focus, my passion has to do with sports, physical wellness, for community development. So thinking about why do people play sports? Why do people need to use parks, city parks, public parks, national parks? And how does that intersect with the overall approach to community development, to economic development? So the uniqueness of the degree focus at ISU within the Stevenson Center is the main reason that I'm there, and I cannot speak highly enough about it. So just a little bit more about me. Like I said, I grew up in Houston, Texas. I grew up a single child to a single mom. So my mom was very certain that I had lots of activities to do to keep me busy. So I did some Boy Scouts. I did a lot of sports growing up, lots of different kinds of youth sports. I was also really involved with our church, the Unitarian Church in Houston. It was through the church that I first encountered volunteering. Obviously, there's the basic stuff of going out and making sack lunches or doing a day's cleanup in a park, but the concept of volunteering, the overall concept of giving back, coupled with the focus of social justice, really prepared me to go into AmeriCorps and then later into the Peace Corps. So, I graduated from high school, went to all public schools in Houston. Graduated from high school in 2005. I went to a college in Wisconsin, a small private liberal arts college called Lawrence University, and I was there for 4 years, where I earned a bachelor's in philosophy, heavily involved with the Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity, and I also played 2 years of varsity sports there at Lawrence. And it was a great experience, except for the cold. Very cold. Very, very cold, especially coming from Houston, where it's not so cold. Going to Wisconsin, where it's very cold, was a adjustment, to say the least. But it was good, and very happy to have done it. So after Lawrence, I graduated in 2009, and by the start of 2010, I found myself working for AmeriCorps in southeastern Arizona. I was working part of the Student Conservation Association, which at the time partnered me up with a office of Bureau of Land Management, which is part of the U.S. government. So I was an intern for the government, stewarding a piece of public land, the San Pedro Riparian National Conservation Area, a very important stretch of land for migratory birds and amongst other things. It was an amazing experience. I kind of define it as like a junior park ranger. I worked right under the park ranger for the piece of land that we were managing, and we would do things from repair barbed wire fences to doing trail maintenance, a lot of trash pickup. We would interact with the public when they were out and about, recreating. Did a little bit of wildlife management as well. Overall, it was an outstanding experience. So that was my AmeriCorps experience there for a year in southeastern Arizona. And then it was there that I decided and I cemented the idea that I was going to go into the Peace Corps. So I applied while I was there, and due to a little bit of government shutdown, a hiccup along the way, the application process took a little bit longer, but by 2012, I found myself in the warm heart of South America in Paraguay. Now, if you don't know what Paraguay is, that's okay. If you can't pick it out on a map immediately, go to your map and find Argentina, Brazil, and Bolivia, and where those three countries border is Paraguay. So, totally landlocked, and statistically speaking is one of the poorest countries in South America. But that doesn't do anything to dissuade the spirit of the Paraguayan people. I was there for 3 years in Paraguay, working mainly as a health extension volunteer. The first 2 years, I was in a very rural area, about 12 hours from the capital city. And while I was out there, I partnered with the local health post, government-funded health outreach, not a hospital, but it was a publicly funded health outreach. So I partnered with the health post there, with the nurses and the doctors, and with local high schools. We did a lot of sexual health education for high schoolers, teaching them how to use a condom, when and why to use a condom. Also did a lot on healthy dating, what it looked like to be in a healthy relationship. As it is in many places, machismo culture, masculinity tends to be pretty predominant, and we were working at length to try and combat that. So I did that for the first 2 years. I also did a lot of dental education, so teaching young kids in elementary schools how to brush your teeth, why it's important, and that's the photo on this podcast is me with one of the kids doing a little dental chat. So, the third year of my service in Paraguay, I moved to the capital city of Asunción. I changed my project plan, I changed what I was doing, changed where I was living. So I was now living in a very urban environment. I was working with a very large non-government organization, an NGO, working using sports as a tool for value building with youth. So we were teaching kids that the same things that apply in a soccer game, with respect, integrity, discipline, hard work, those values translated very clearly to life outside of the soccer field. And it was a really empowering, informative experience for myself. Working in another culture, there are many expectations that need to be curbed. There are many lessons to be learned when working, living, operating in another culture. But the experience of working with the kids, these Paraguayan youth, we were working in essentially what would be refugee camps. They were internally displaced people. There was a lot of flooding that year, and the communities that lived down by the river, poor communities, were totally displaced, and they had to live in essentially refugee camps. So we would go into these camps and help these kids with their mental health by playing sports, but also just tease out a little bit of these values and translate them over. And while I was in Paraguay, some of the most memorable things were always the look of surprise on people's faces when they found out that indeed an English-speaking gringo could play soccer and could play pretty well. So I never got tired of surprising friends and strangers alike that, oh my goodness, look, el gringo se puede jugar fútbol. Así es. So, but aside from that, the people, the relationships that you made they last a lifetime. I mean, even to this day, with the benefit of technology, I'm able to keep in touch with people who were calling me their son, and I'm at a loss of words to really express the the sincerity and the humor and the curiousness and the kindness that was expressed to me by the people of Paraguay. And it was unbelievable. It really was. It was unlike anything I could have ever imagined. And it was at the same time what I was expecting, but I could never have prepared for it, no matter how much. And some of the lessons that I was able to gain from this experience is the power of people, is the power of personal connections, and the power that rests within each one of us when we're able to make a genuine attempt, an authentic reach to connect with other people. In communication, I mean, one of the toughest things is being in a new culture, being in a new language, is you lose a part of yourself. You can't express things that you would normally express. You can't make jokes that you would normally make because you don't have the vocabulary. You don't have the verb structure. So it's very difficult when it feels as though you lose a part of your identity. But it comes and goes. So, I mean, you lose a part of your identity, but then, next week you're able to make a joke that you couldn't have made a week previous. So small wins lead up to a really big improvement in my overall skill set, which is being able to communicate and also, obviously, learning Spanish. So, and it was through my experience with the Peace Corps that prepared me to apply for the Stevenson Center. Being a Peace Corps graduate and allowed me to apply to the Coverdell Fellows Program. So, it's one of the main benefits of being a Peace Corps volunteer is that for your lifetime you hold this eligibility to apply to participate in universities, and I couldn't be any happier than the time that I've spent at ISU. And being there at ISU, working with the Kinesiology department and the Stevenson Center, the uniqueness of the sequence is just incredible. I have been playing sports my whole life, competitively, recreationally, and I've always been able to connect with people. So I have been on tracks within my previous experiences that have led me up to the nexus of the kinesiology and community development intersection. And there's no other degree sequence out there, let alone with a full tuition waiver, that compares to what I'm looking for. So it was absolutely amazing. And the first year of study on campus was intense, but it was also really rewarding to be back in the very structured, immersive academic environment of a university, of a top-tier university such as Illinois State. It was a lot, for sure. A lot of classes, a lot of time, but it's very fun at the same time. It's fun to learn, and it's fun to be engaged, and it's fun to be on the grad student time frame, which is you work really hard, and then you have a nice long winter break, and then you come back and you work harder again. So the ups and downs, but it was awesome, very much so. And living there in Bloomington and Normal, you couldn't really think of a better place to be incredibly immersed in the academic. You have quiet, you have bike trails, you have definitely Four Seasons. It's accessible, it's big, but not too big. You can get away, but you're still not lost within a massive city or a massive university. So, an outstanding experience for sure. And just to speak really briefly about my professional practice, it has been a great experience so far. I've returned back to Houston, Texas, working with a nonprofit here that focuses on many different things. They started out doing affordable housing and have since diversified to youth development. And a number of things. So to speak really briefly about the placement so far, it has been a very good time. It has been very supportive by both the Stevenson Center and the organization here. The organization is called Change Happens. You can find them on the internet, Change Happens Houston, Texas. But anyways, so that wraps up. Hopefully this gives a little bit of insight into my experience, which has been unique, as all of us are. All of our experiences are unique. But if you're thinking about Illinois State University, if you're thinking about the Stevenson Center, I highly encourage you to apply, to at least consider it, because as far as I know, as far as I think, you're not going to find a better degree sequence if you're concerned about community economic development than you will at the Stevenson Center. The faculty, the staff, they go above and beyond in any and all ways. So kudos absolutely to ISU, to the Stevenson Center, and to the Kinesiology and Recreation Department at Illinois State. Anyways, hope this was helpful. Thank you and take care. Goodbye.